Yeah,
And we are live. There we are.
we
Rick,
are
you did it.
live.
We're live.
I did it. Yeah.
Everybody, welcome to the Drummers Education Connection. I'm Bart Robley, and I am here with my friend. I always get it over here. Rick, both these guys are my friends, Rick and Jim, with Rick Stojak, who was so scared that he wasn't going to be able to get us live, and he just did it. So way to go, Rick Stojak. And
Yeah.
our guest host today from Connecticut, from Jim Royle Drum Studio, Jim Royle himself. So basically what's happening today is Jeremy and Chip are both on vacation. And so we thought, well, let's have a sub guest host come in and do their job. And who better than this guy? Jim Royle owns, once again, Jim Royle Drum Studios in Connecticut. He's an amazing, very accomplished jazz musician, an author. He plays steel pans. We have the same barber, apparently. He is a great human being. Jim, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you guys. It's an absolute pleasure to be back. And as we were talking off the air, coming together to blend our experiences and love and passion for drumming and teaching lifts everybody up, including us.
Very much
something
so.
about it that after we do one of these, I just want to run around the block like at 100 miles an hour. You're so juiced up. So if we can give any of that energy to our fellow drum teachers and drummers, let's do it.
That is so true. And I tell you, the cool thing about this, Jim, that you don't know is that you are doing the job of Chip and Jeremy today. So you're basically playing drums and percussion all at once. Okay. So you're covering the conga parts on your left hand on the toms today. Okay.
The thing
and you're going to have to juggle as well.
You're going to have to juggle for Chip. Yeah.
The thing I can't do is I can't do all that.
You can't. Okay, I can cover that, but I can't juggle. So we sort of have you today, Chip. We kind of got your back today a little bit. Anyway, so today we're talking about teaching policies, and that kind of encapsulates a lot of things here. So we're talking about everything from helping to build your business and get new students, but also how do you go about, for drum teachers out there, how do you collect your tuition? When do you collect your tuition? Do you have a late policy? Do you have, all these different things, what do you provide for your students? And having Jim on, Rick and I both teach more privately, one-on-one, and Jim, you do too, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
But you do a lot of group classes, correct? Talk to us about your group classes and tell us what those are, please.
Sure. And I have to preface it with that in order to be in one of our group classes, whether it's kids that are 3rd, 4th grade, all the way through high school, as well as our adult community steel band, you have to be a student in the studio taking a private lesson.
Okay.
It just can't be anybody could just come in and be in one of the percussion ensemble groups, because we found over the years, and again, it's like 35 years of teaching, that I found very quickly as things were growing in that area that if a student wasn't committed and the family wasn't committed to a lesson every week, there were things that were coming up as issues, as the strength of the commitment, making sure the material was being worked on, and etc. So we'll never stray from that. You have to be a student, at least taking a half-hour lesson each week. And then we do 45-minute lessons and hour lessons. And then combine with that with your ensemble that you have once a week. Again, it's a win-win. That's one of my favorite, saying it double words. It's a win-win for everybody. And it just works.
And that keeps them up to par. So it's fair for all of the students in the ensemble groups that keep the quality up.
Sure. And, it went the example, and it's been so many years now. Of course, I never would say names, but it was a student who was very advanced on drum set, and he wanted to be a member of the A team. And this happened once, and then I was done with it, where we were getting ready to perform at a major event in Connecticut, but it was still major. I think it may have been the PAS chapter day.
Wow.
and suddenly I can't make it. I can't go. That wouldn't have happened if he was a student in the studio, weekly. It's just that there just wasn't the commitment there, and that really affected everyone in that ensemble that day. I mean, whether I could sit in or whatever doesn't matter. It's the continuity and the feeling that everybody gets from, we're a team, we're committed, we're a family, and we're brothers and sisters in this. And it's so I just find that found that works best. So look, the reason why we're here, the reason why our studio, it's not just me. I mean, there's other teachers that are here with me along the way. The reason why it's worked is based on these policies that we're going to be getting into. Otherwise, it's too wishy-washy, and and that's when it starts to fall apart. And it's not about trying to be super strict. And this is how it's just about every company has to have a game plan and have to have a business model that's going to work for them. It doesn't, whether it's just private teaching or it expands. Again, does it matter what instrument it is? It doesn't. I mean, I have friends that do something similar that I do, but for woodwinds or for something else. And if it's going to be a big part of your income, say it's 75% of your income, whatever, you can't. There just can't be those little slip-ups in there, because it just won't maintain. And I get that question all the time. How do you do it? How have you kept it alive all these years? How have you taken it to, a separate building, and et cetera, et cetera? It's a little scary. But I always feel like I'm the one, I have to answer to everything. And so if I let something go, I'm the only one that could answer to that. So you know what? I make sure that doesn't happen.
Right. That's great.
Now responsible.
Go ahead, Rick.
So if you're taking, if you're gonna be in the ensemble, you've got to take private lessons. So in the private lessons, are you working on the ensemble material, or can a student say, yeah, I'm in my private lesson, I just want to work on, funk drumming or whatever they like?
That's a great question. And I'll say it's in a couple parts. Normally, once somebody's in an ensemble, they're no longer taking a half-hour lesson. They're at least doing 45 or an hour. So there's plenty of time to work on all of it, because it's sort of built in to the fabric of what we do. I mean, we have all the instruments here, and you can come in and practice whenever you want. You could go to a marimba, you can go to timpani, you can go to a steel pan, you can do whatever you want. So it's built in that they know that if they need to work on something to be prepared for that next week on the next section we're getting to, etc., of course we're going to work on it for a little while. And there's never a problem with that. I mean, if we're getting close to a regional audition or all-state or a jazz band audition, etc., I always say to everyone, I'm very open and a straight shooter with this. I always ask them, before we dig in on what we're supposed to do, is there something that we need to do today that we want to make sure we get to at the beginning, so that we don't not get to it and you're like, wow, I really should have asked them that today, and now we're going to go another week and we didn't go over it. What are you doing at school? What are you doing outside of school? Is there anything that we need to do? And then we tie it in with the fundamentals that we're supposed to do. We do 2 recitals a year, so there could be a recital time where they're working on a solo piece on top of being in an ensemble. I mean, there's never a dull moment here. I mean,
I bet.
That's great.
And didn't you say that that you have rehearsal available for them too, that they could come in and practice?
Yes.
Wow, that's so amazing that you have a facility that you can pull that off.
We have enough room where sometimes there's 3 of us teaching at the same time, but a lot of the time it'll be 2 of us, and we've got equipment everywhere so that nobody can say, well, I didn't get to come in and practice. No, that we erased that. You know, so, we're here whether, and Brian, my assistant director, Brian Entu, is amazing. And I think I said it the last time we were together. He's he was a student of mine since he was 5, and
Wow.
he hit his 39th birthday this year.
Wow.
So he knows, he went for
Wow.
the fabric, he went to college for music, came back and started studying with me, started teaching with me right away. He knows exactly what our recipe is.
Yeah.
And he brings his blend into it. And that's what's wonderful about when you do start to add people. And that was really important for me, because everyone would say, oh, well, am I going to get to study with Jim Royle? Like, I'm not even a person. Like, sometimes it's weird, and I'm like, well, I only have so many slots. I mean, this is way back when. That doesn't happen anymore, because of the staff that we have, and it's understood, and that you're coming in and you're getting the curriculum and the recipe that works. And I want to make sure that a student is put with someone that I feel they have the chemistry works too. And Brian and I are so opposite of each other. I'm just like, the jazz guy, and with Red Ring, and Brian's more of the classical guy. I'm kooky and crazy. He's quirky. You know what I mean? So there's wonderful differences between us, and I can tell when I think a student's going to be better with him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But
great.
it doesn't mean that on a dime I'm not switching gears. I'll go into 5th. I'll look for 6th if I need it. With a student. But we want to try to make sure the kids are getting exactly what they need, and we even do this too, which is really cool. Say someone's working with me, and we're getting ready for auditions for ensemble placement for September, and Brian is my marimba 4-mallet expert. I mean, I worked on all that in college too, but that's not my forte. So I'll even say, Brian, this week you're going to work with Tom, and I want you to get him going on the grip and make sure everything is precise. He studied with Gordon Stout, one of the virtuosos marimba. Yeah. So I want to make sure they get off on the right track from his eyes and ears. I could continue to monitor it, but we can push students back and forth, which is wonderful. So there's a lot of parts to this.
So I have a question, since the topic is kind of teaching policies.
Yeah.
If you have a student come in and they sign up for a half-hour, 45-minute lesson, whatever, and then they decide they want to join an ensemble, the ensemble tuition is separate from obviously the private lesson tuition. You pay for both, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
And so and there's a lot of parts in there, but I'll answer that question first, and we can go into the more of the policies. But so with the ensembles, we do it per diem per week, and generally people don't miss, but we try to offer a little bit of slack in there if someone just can't make it for the week. I mean, I guess we could put a stamp on it, but we try to keep that a little bit looser for the parents if need be. But generally speaking, we have it in our contract policy that you can't miss more than 3 ensembles in a session, or you're out.
Real? Oh, okay.
Because that could turn into you're just not being prepared enough. But again, it doesn't happen because people want to be in there,
Right.
So it's rare. But I have to keep tabs on it. I'm like, look, Johnny already missed. He missed 2, and I know if there was a school concert, you always got to bow down to that. I get that. But then on top, so you say you throw one of those in there, and then it's, he can't make it today because we're celebrating Dad's birthday tonight. I'm like, on a weeknight, so I just try to educate as I go and say, look, it's really important that they're there consistently because it's once a week.
Right. Right.
And so much happens in that, the A team works for 2 hours. That's the top team.
And that's 2 hours a week, correct?
2 hours a week on top of their lessons. So, I mean, a lot of those kids are taking 45-hour lessons. They're doing about 3 hours a week just at the studio.
Really?
Yep.
And so that's that is just for the ensemble.
Right.
Okay. Wow,
Yep.
that's amazing. That's amazing.
I
Now,
mean,
so now with the private lesson, so you come in for a private lesson, and then do you try to schedule the lessons on the private lesson and the ensemble in the same day, or is it sometimes okay you come in for your private lesson on Monday, but then you got to be there on Thursday for your ensemble? Let's just for the sake of argument.
right. That's really hard to do. I
Yeah.
mean, and we try to do this. If someone is coming from outside of our 15-20 minute radius, we try, like, say somebody's coming from a half hour, 45 minutes away. We
Right.
try to schedule maybe their lesson before the ensemble.
Uh-huh.
Was that what you were asking?
Yeah, yeah. Is it you try to do it in the same day? Because I know that sometimes, like here in California, I live in the Southern California area with traffic and stuff like that. I mean, it's a nightmare. So a lot of times people, for instance, will try to, if they like at the studio that I teach at, not my home studio, but in this in a music store, if they have their son takes drum lessons with me and the daughter takes guitar lessons with the guy next door, they try to schedule it on the same day. Now we're both independent contractors, so it's kind of up to us whether we can make that happen or not, and it can be a bit challenging. So I can imagine with the ensemble, that would be the ensemble practice and the private lesson practice. That would be the same thing. Hey, Rick's back. That would be the same
Hey, I'm
type of
back.
thing. You made it back. So is that what, do you
Yeah.
try to do that? Is that what you try to do?
We do try to do that. And again, it's for more of those family cases where we're just understanding about what's going on.
Right.
Whether
right.
they're driving from a distance. But what's really great too is that once the kids get to the A team, when they get into their sophomore year, a lot of them start to drive. So
Right.
that helps too. So it doesn't matter whether they have a lesson before or not. It's about helping some families in any way if we can. Sometimes we have brothers that both study.
Yeah.
And Brian has one, I have the other. We try to schedule at the same time.
Right.
We try our best with that. That's a tough one because there's so many kids in each ensemble that, well, say there are 10 kids in an ensemble. Well, if there's 2 or 3 of us teaching, well, that's only 3 out of the 10. So somebody's not getting a lesson right beforehand. And then there's the part of, well, do you offer to give them the lesson like 45 minutes before ensemble? Well, then, okay, are they hanging out? Can they practice? But if it's during school, there's concerns about they got to get their work done. There's so many variables and things in there that go up in this head of mine that you try to solve. And you know what? You do your best, but you can't save the world. You can't make everybody happy all the time. You do the very best that you can.
Right.
And our parents know that. They get it.
Yeah.
So
I think most people who are private teachers, or group teachers, like with your classes, I think most people are pretty flexible with that. I mean, they try to be. I run into that all the time. Rick, I got a question for you, buddy. Now that you're back,
Yes,
so you
sir.
run your studio. You only do, and I think you might have said that you changed this, but you only do 1 hour lessons, right? You don't do
That's
half
right.
hour or 45.
That's right. Yep. Just 1 hour lessons. And sorry about that. My computer went down, and I'm just glad that everything is working. So I'm glad that we're on. I'm glad that we have YouTube because I want to go back and watch the YouTube video and see what I missed.
Yeah, well, we were still rolling. You just kind of you disappeared for a minute. So
Yeah, I had to restart.
So on the 1 hour lessons, Rick, why is it that you only do, and you also mostly have adult students? Is that correct?
Right. That is right. Yeah, adult students are my focus, and it's really my passion.
That's great.
And my marketing is definitely a little bit more towards adults. Also, I even have a Facebook group, Adult Drum Lessons San Diego, and it's very reflective in my Yelp page too. So it's just what I choose to do, and I just find that a half-hour lesson just goes by too quick. I feel like, the brain can only absorb so much material at a time. And
Right.
there's that focus where we're working on the groove or the beat or the fill or the technique. And then I find that I get a really good result if I get back with my student and we start talking about it a little bit, or talking about something that's inspiring or relative, or say, wow, while we're working on this lesson, let me take a second, let me send you a podcast about the topic. And I find that gives them a chance for their brain to rest a little bit. Just like if you're working out in the gym, you've got to give that muscle a second to rest. And I think the brain is the same way. And so I find that an hour goes by just like that for all of the students. So the other thing that I was running into also is that most half-hour lessons, at the end of the half hour, people would say, hey, I have this very important question, and try to squeeze out another 20 minutes out of the lesson while there's somebody waiting. So that's just what works for me. And I think well, we have a lot of traffic. We're in Southern California. We're in San Diego, and almost all of my lessons now are back in the studio live. So I think to drive for 45 minutes to have a half-hour lesson, to get back in the car to drive for 45 minutes, it's kind of a drag,
Yeah.
So maybe it's a regional thing. I just think that everybody's got to try on what fits for them.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So you're a mix, right?
Yeah. I'm a mix. I do adults, and I have adult students, and I have kid students. I usually don't take anybody younger than 5. I've had success with the people younger than 5, but matter of fact, one of my longest running students started with me when he was 4, and became a great drummer. I think to work with young kids, you have to have a big amount of patience, like a huge amount of patience, and you also have to be really in tune with the student, because you guys know how it goes. You watch a kid playing something, and they're working on something, and inside your head, you're going, okay, just 2 more times and you'll have it. Oh, try it again. One more time. Oh, no, one more time. Try it again. You're almost there. And you're not paying attention to the kid. You're paying attention to the playing, and all of a sudden you look over and the kid's, got waterworks. And so over the years, I've become really in tune with that. But I do take all, to answer the question, I do take all ages, all skill levels, and I try to teach a little bit of everything. Most of my lessons right now are still online. I found this rather odd, because when COVID hit, all of my students, okay, we're going to switch to online. I had a lot of people that were super reluctant there, because technology wasn't their friend, right? Well, once they got online and started doing the lessons, because of the traffic in Southern California, they were like, you know what? It's a little bit more convenient if we just keep it online. And because of and unfortunately here on StreamYard, I can't show it, but because of my camera setup, I've got 3 cameras, one above me, one in front of me, and one down by my foot. My students are like, even when I'm in person, I can't really see your hands that close. Here online, I can really watch your hands, or I can really watch your foot. So they like it, So I am going back in-person lessons. I'm not giving in-person lessons. A lot of people still like them and want them. But yeah, so I do a little bit of both. Online, in-person, adults, kids, just a little bit of mixture of everything. So.
And then, Jim, I would imagine you've got to be in person because it's an ensemble.
Well, I mean, ensembles, yeah. I mean, we try to do, and we did over COVID. We did ensembles through Zoom, and we tried our best. But it's until they get that link together where there's not a delay. Your big NBCs and all those companies have that type of link because they've got the pocketbook to cover it. But for us, it would be a fortune to have that kind of connection, which would be wonderful. But yeah, for ensembles, you have to be in person. For the regular lessons, we're back. We were back in September last year. About 95% we were back, and I have one online right now. It's actually my first cousin's son, who's been studying, and he lives in Massachusetts, so that's like 2.5 hours away, and he's doing great. So, but other than that, yeah, everybody's in person. But I have no issue if and when I have to now. We're all, we've all been given that baton, and some people have better technology with it than others, and again, I'm pretty basic with it. So people always think like, oh, I have to have all this gear, and I have to spend all this money, and it depends what you're doing with it. If it's something you do a lot, then yes, maybe that's something you have to consider. But since we don't, and I want to be right there. That's more my thing. I want to be right there, and we do have adult students here too, but there's certainly a very high percentage of our students that are, kids from average 7, all the way through high school and college, etc. So you see them. I can understand what you. If it's a, there's even more time fly for an adult. Step into a blink. I always say you're gonna and you're out of here.
Hey Jim, I hate to interrupt you. I think your Wi-Fi connection's a little weak there. We're getting you glitched out there a little bit. Maybe you can check that. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Okay.
Well, let me while you're looking at that, I'll throw in an anecdote about the online thing, because I'm honestly I'm not, when I'm talking about like the online lessons versus in person. With mine, I would rather be in person 100%, to be honest with you, because there's and we can talk about that, what the difference is. But one of the great things that has happened for me with online lessons is when COVID did hit, I really started, advertising myself more and marketing myself more for online lessons to pick up new students. And so I have some students in Arizona, and I'm going to be playing. I leave on Friday to go on tour. I'm going to be playing all over Arizona, different casinos and theaters and stuff out there. So I have one of my students who's an amazing player. He lives in Surprise, which is like right outside of Phoenix proper. And he's going to come to the show, and we tried to hook it up where I could come over to his house and he could take a private lesson, but there were some issues there with how far away it was and stuff like that. So we're not going to do that, but it's great to have people come in and see to see a show, and you get to meet them in person from a different state. So Jim, we're back. It looks like you tweaked your Wi-Fi maybe.
Is it working?
Yeah, you're better now. That's better. You were hanging up there for a minute. It happens from time to time. It's okay.
It might be iPad, may not be liking Chrome, which we need for our StreamYard to stream.
Sometimes that does happen.
It's working.
So yeah. So let me ask you this. So and here's a big topic that I get from people all the time when they ask about how to start a teaching business. I have a friend of mine right now who wants to start a business teaching guitar, and he's a great guitar player and a great teacher. And I have a couple guitar player friends that have seen my business, and they ask me how I run it. But the question is tuition. How do you collect your tuition? Do you collect it monthly, at the beginning of the month, at the end of the month? Is it cash only? How do you do that? So Rick, I'm going to throw it to you. How do you collect your tuition, and what is it that you do to get paid for you're definitely not a nonprofit. We love doing what we do, but you're not a nonprofit. You get paid.
Really? I've been doing this for free, man. I just love doing this. How do you give you money for this?
Yeah, man, they do. How do you get paid by your students? How do you work that out?
For me, what I found is and I feel like it's been, many of my students have said this has been a big draw to them. I let them pay as they go.
Oh.
And that has worked really, really well, because I found that a lot of people aren't going to be able to shell out a monthly tuition. Our city is so tight with money too. Our rents are so high in San Diego, and housing costs are just through the roof here. So it's very, very tight financially. If you're in your 20s here and you're just trying to get started, you just got your first job and you're trying to think about buying a house and all of that. So for this area, I found that it works really, really well, that I let people pay at the lesson. And so, they can pay cash. Now I'm doing a lot of Venmo or PayPal, and I take checks as well. And
do you run into people if they pay by the lesson? Do you run into people where you're like, 20 minutes before the lesson, you're like, hey man, can't make it today. I got stuck in traffic, or my cat has a shower, whatever. I mean, do they come up with the outlandish excuses and then you don't get paid? That's got to be a problem.
Yeah.
I would think.
So how I balance that is my very, very first communication. When they contact me about drum lessons, within the correspondence, I kind of send them out an email with everything to expect, how to find me, the address, some landmarks, a little bit about hearing protection. And then I'm really adamant, I need a 2-day notice of cancellation, or I'm going to have to bill you. And I just drill it to people all the time. Because it's the bat phone. We need a drummer.
It's the bat phone. We need a drummer
Jim,
now.
We need a drummer tonight.
Jim, get over here and drum for us.
So
people even have these anymore? Okay.
What is that thing? What is that?
It's a stage prop. That's a stage prop. That doesn't work. Come on.
So yeah, definitely people cancel. And I'll try, if they miss their lesson, if I have a window later that day or the next day,
yep.
I'll say, all right, I understand you missed that lesson. No big deal. It's just as easy for me to have you in tomorrow. Yeah. And I try to do that, but a lot of times it doesn't work. And
it doesn't. Okay.
And so what I've been doing is I've been sending out, right when they come in, I try to set up Venmo and PayPal, and I'll send them out a Venmo request for that lesson.
Right.
Fair enough.
And then the people who are really, really, honestly, if they're really, really steady, if you've been coming to see me, every week for 2 years and you miss one, right. Every once in a while I'll let it slide. But and then I try to accommodate too if I feel like the person's a really good client and really, really into it. If they've paid for a lesson they didn't have, if I can, I'll say, all right, you know what, we're going to go over 15 minutes on your next lesson.
Right.
And just, I just don't like collecting money if they're not having their lesson. But I just think it's a necessary business practice. And I would say 8 out of 10 of those missed lessons are really because they forgot to let me know that something's going on.
Right.
And
Jim, what about
it's happening like crazy right now too with summer vacations. I'm really noticing.
Oh yeah,
a lot of this. Yeah. And then just to finish too, I do have some people who are happy to pay for the top of the month. I do have that. It's just easier, so we have that as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Jim, what about you? How do you work it with, especially with as many students coming in the studio and more teachers and ensembles? I mean, it's not just you. You
right.
have other people. How do you work that?
Yeah, I mean, with the overhead that we have, and that I want to make sure teachers are paid. We have a contract. If it's a brand new student, and say they're on that younger side, we always start off with, let's do 4 weeks. Let's see where this is going to go. But after that happens, and we know it's going to continue, you have to sign into a contract that is from September to January, then the recital, and then February into June recital. And then
Yep.
summer session is definitely more per diem. We don't do a contract over the summer, but and people can choose. They could pay by the month, and we have our system through QuickBooks where every month, we run a credit card that's on file, and actually Brian takes care of that, so that there's a steady stream no matter what. And when people are doing it that way, they tend to maybe not miss, because in the policy,
Yeah.
we need 24 hours notice as well. And it's interesting because I was thinking about this topic on my drive in today. And let's say, I have a student that was relatively new last semester, and he missed a couple lessons because of some things. And normally, you get one makeup a semester.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay.
Because it could turn into just pandemonium. Pardon the shirt. So we have to be a little bit more tight with it, because where are you doing these makeups? I mean, we're really
Right.
with the student load that we have. So, and again, there are exceptions. If little Johnny wakes up and he's sick, but please don't call me at 3 or 4 o'clock and say, "Oh, Johnny stayed home today and he's not coming in." Now, I can't fit somebody in at that point, because no one likes to be called at 4 o'clock to come in for 5. If, say, we owed somebody else a lesson, et cetera, et cetera. So then you're basically giving up your time twice. So
Yes.
we try to set the example right from the beginning, so that people know how we're running that.
Yeah.
So people could pay a month in advance. They could pay for the whole semester if they want. And some people do that. Done. I mean, we're Fairfield County, we're the Gold Coast. You have some people that are just like, it's done.
Yeah.
So, but getting back to that, to a student where, he missed 2 lessons for things, and then there was a third one. And again, so how long do you throw the COVID card in? I try to be reasonable. You try to run your business with heart, but you also have to run it with an iron fist too. Otherwise, it doesn't stay running.
Right. Exactly.
So I have to be that guy, in the sense of, when he got to his 4th time, he wasn't gonna be able to make it because of such and such. I'm like, look, I've already given you 3. You're only supposed to get 1.
Right.
So I'm sorry, if you can't make it tonight, we can't make this one up.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, this goes into even more of the story. Okay, over the summer, at the very beginning, we're going to make up those lessons. 2 of them, the same day, he canceled.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I don't make up makeups.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then calling me 10 minutes before the lesson saying, yeah, I had this issue and I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it later, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and you're giving me 10 minutes? It takes you longer than that to get here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just, look, if we're trying to get our fellow possible new drum teachers to run a business, if they're going to do it privately, etc., they really have to learn the thing that's going to keep them afloat, so they could pay their bills.
Yep.
So they could
Yes.
survive. So they could do
Yes.
this and not have to also work and deliver pizzas. I mean, if you really want to do this, there are things that are going to make or break whether it's going to be full-time or not.
Right.
And and that's how I've run it, and that's it's been 35 years of that, and not anything else.
I think that's outstanding, because that's I mean, and I'm a one-man show, right? I don't have a studio like yours. And I kind of have to do the same thing. I do find that I'll give makeups, but I always tell people right up front, the makeups have to be done within the month, and I don't carry tuition from month to month, because when you're dealing with anywhere between 50 and 70 students at a time, for me there's just no way I can't carry that much money from month to month, and I'm not a banker. I'm not going to keep track of your lessons. I do have occasions where I have a student who, something comes up. I get that life happens and they can't make a lesson, and I've had times where something has happened and I've had to cancel a lesson. So I understand there's a human the human aspect to it, and you've got to you got to pick those things. But I also Jim, I totally agree that you're running a business, and if you're trying to show other teachers how to get their business going and stuff, you do have there is a point where, look, I'm here for you. I want you to be a great drummer. I want to help you be the best drummer that you can be. I'm going to give you everything I can to help you be the best drummer that you can be. But you have to help yourself as well, and you don't want to be taken advantage of,
Right.
when it comes to that. So I think there's that policy that we all have to set forth as drum teachers, and like you said, to tell our fellow younger drummers who are wanting to start a teaching business, I guess pick your battles at times, but also don't be taken advantage of. Just
Exactly.
don't. Yeah.
And
And-
it's a respect. Like, you respect
It
my
is.
time.
Right.
Just
Yep.
like,
It is.
I don't have a doctorate of music, but even if you are a doctor and you go in and you blow off an appointment, well, we're billing you for it, Mr. Royle.
Right.
So you have to respect everybody's time.
You do.
Unless I go down and I have an emergency, I'm going to be here. You
Right.
know, and I have that thing about I don't have time to be sick, so I don't get sick.
I gave it up for Lent.
There it is.
I gave it up a long time ago. I have to have a fever or whatever, and, otherwise I'm here. So if I'm here and disrespectfully, somebody just doesn't take care of their business, I have a lot of problem with that. I mean, but we set that up in the beginning so that it's understood.
Yeah.
It's important. I mean, we're, like you said, I'm giving 110% of my soul and everything I've got, all my resources, and it goes so far beyond just what we're working on in that lesson. I have so many things that, in resource-wise, I'm offering these kids that let's make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So, and I want them to learn that too, for the kids that want to go into music, whether it's music ed or performance. I'm like, someday this might be you, and I want you to understand my position on this.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll come back later and say, well, what you said really made sense. It's hard when you're 17 or 18 at that point before you make the next jump to completely understand that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm okay with that. It's, I will educate them on it, just to set and plant the seed, and hopefully it'll stick, or it'll come out someday and go, wow, yeah, we talked about that, and that I get it now. I get it.
I think that carries into like you said, it doesn't matter if it's a music ed or performance or both. If you do both, I think that it's just, very simply put, it's a work ethic. I've played in bands with people that are professional musicians, and they can't well, I'm not going to do that gig because it's just a little gig. So, well, a gig is a gig. Be there. And if you can't be there, because there's times when, again, life happens, have a sub. Have somebody that can step in for you and have that be a clear thing, that, hey, I might use a sub. In my entire career of as a professional musician, I've canceled one. I started playing when I was 15. I'm 54 years old. I've canceled one gig in my life, and I had, as an adult, I had chicken pox, and I had them on my eyeballs. I couldn't see. It was the worst thing in the world, and I had to cancel a gig. And I've had to use a sub one time, and I'm thankful to say that. So I think that work ethic that you're instilling in what you're instilling in your students, Jim, is just a solid work ethic. It's just, that's what it is. And I say often to my students that when you see somebody playing the drums or playing NFL football or is a doctor, whatever they do, and they're really good at it, you're witnessing the end result of a lot of hard work. And yes, there is natural talent involved and all that sort of stuff. But to really be at the top of a game, there's a lot of hard work that is involved in that, whether it be teaching or performing or whatever. So give it its respect, give it its respect that it's due. I think that's great.
And that, I was going to say, and that work ethic is not just about our playing, because
right.
at a professional level, it's expected. But you have to put that same work ethic into this business that you're considering to run.
Yep.
And I can't
That's
even, the time and effort that I've put in all along the way to make the next steps, to build it to the next level, make it better. We could talk all day about it. I mean,
I'm right there
absolutely,
with you.
Absolutely.
So,
well, Jim, you're certainly a well-oiled machine over there, man. 35 years of success with this. It's really, really, really fantastic what you're doing.
Thank you.
Hey, Rick,
great to get the insights. Yeah.
So for you, okay, so you're on your marketing. How do you take care of your marketing, Rick? Because I know you have specific. You said a second ago that you market to adult students and full hour lessons. How do you market that? How do you go about doing that?
Okay, putting a pin back in the substitutes. I've had a couple lessons. This was kind of like an out of the box idea, but it's worked a couple times. Where, hey, the student can't make it. Let's say it's a teen student, and I'll say, great, you got another kid? Why don't you come in, talk to the dad? Like, you know what? You've been sitting and watching these drum lessons for a year. Why don't you come in and learn the drums? And I'm going to teach you. I'm going to at least teach you how to play a basic beat, and you can play along. Here's, in my book series, here's a bunch of songs. Wouldn't that be cool if you could start playing drums? And I've had some really good success with that, where then eventually the dad became my student and the teenager was off playing football. I'm like, oh, I can't believe that worked out. It actually was just better, because maybe the student was there not for his own interest, because he wanted to please his dad.
Yeah.
And the dad thought, hey, maybe I'm too old to play drums. It's like, no, you're never too old to play drums. Right. And so that's one of the things that I really, really do try to emphasize. I have so many students now that are over 50. I've got, people in their 60s and one in the 70s. And so with the marketing, I have a Yelp page. I don't pay for advertisement on Yelp, and with a Yelp page, they're very, very clever. If they think that you're soliciting people to give you reviews, they can kind of figure it out. Like if 10 Yelp reviews come in at the same time, they know, wow, this company solicited those people. So they trickle in, and you'll find that they're all adults. And so on my Yelp profile, the photos of all my students, just go look up Rick Stojak's Drum Studio on Yelp. You're going to see photos of adults. And so I've had many people come in and say, yeah, this is, I kind of wanted to go to a cool place where adults hang out, and so this is a band rehearsal studio here. There's metal bands, my brother-in-law in Testament, Gene. I mean, Testament is rehearsing in the room right next door. So it's a bit of a rock and roll environment around here, and so, every once in a while you smell things in the air here in this, because it's a band rehearsal studio. You're like, I don't know if that's spice they're cooking with. So, I have to be sensitive to my environment here too. It's not always the environment that I want to bring an 8-year-old in, but a 20-year-old, this is the coolest thing ever, because they feel like they're coming into they're coming into a band rehearsal studio. There's 8 rehearsal rooms in this suite, and there's like 30 band rehearsal rooms in the other suites here. And then I think it's the same with my website. I think that really reflects it also as well too. So not that I don't like kids. I like kids. But
Hey Rick,
I don't.
For you. Rick, I got a question. So when you mentioned to that parent about, well, why don't you come in for the lesson?
Yeah.
Make it. Were you kind of messing around, fooling around at that moment, and he called you on it?
No, honestly, I was really serious, Jim.
Okay.
I was really, really serious. Like, if the dad has been hanging out at the lesson and watching the student drum for that long, why give me the money and then not show? Why don't you just come in and learn the instrument yourself? And then I was dead serious about it. And then it's like, wow, what a great way for you to connect to your kid, that you both play drums. So I love the father-son drum kind of thing. I've had mother-daughter, I've got 3 kids set up side by side. So to me, the hour is the hour. So I could do a double drum lesson with a family here, no problem at all. So
that's awesome.
So yeah. It's just, I think we just have to experiment and try different things. So I was wondering what you guys do for scheduling, like how you keep track. Do you send confirmations out?
What I do is I have, very simply, I have an Excel spreadsheet, and I have it set up to, every week it changes. I mean, everybody has their time slot in the Excel sheet.
Yeah.
And then I have it set up like right now I have, and I don't have one I can show you, but it has, the day of the week, Monday through Saturday, and the name of the student, and it's set up in half-hour increments. And if the student takes an hour lesson, then they take up 2 of those half-hour increments. Yeah. And everybody knows their time slot, and I call them with the online lessons. I always tell them, give me 5 minutes from the start time, right? So if you haven't heard from me within 5 minutes of your start time, then my arm fell off. But I'll call you within 5 minutes of your start time, and I always, if I call it, if your lesson's at 3 and I call it 3:05, then the lesson ends at 3:35, and then the next student. And I just keep track of it that way. And then if a new student starts, I tell them all my open time slots. I've got, Tuesday at 4 and Wednesday at 3:30, and I plug students in. And if somebody cancels and quits taking lessons, then I immediately take them out. On the same Excel spreadsheet, as it goes from left to right, I have each student's the name of the student and their telephone number. I have their tuition. I have the date that they paid. Then I have a column for how they paid, and then down at the bottom it tallies it up for me. And then out over to the right, the last column of the tuition is the parent's name, and so I follow it that way. And then I also kind of run between 2 calendars. I just have a handwritten calendar that if somebody cancels, I'll write that in the handwritten calendar. Same thing. It's on your day planner, it shows you the day within a half hour.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe canceled at 3:30 on Tuesday, and then if somebody needs a makeup and I'm going to give it to them, I'll call that student or text them, hey, I got an opening at 3:30 on Tuesday. Can you make it? Yes or no. I plug them in. If they can't make it, then I go get a cup of coffee. But that's the way I run mine. How about you, Jim? How do you, especially with that many students?
Well, I just grabbed this out of my bag. I do the old school kind of glance.
Yeah.
There it is.
Where's mine? Mine's in my briefcase. Mine's in my briefcase in the living room. There you go. I got the I got the same one, but it has a Gretsch sticker on it.
I'm old school in that sense that I'm a very visual person. Mm-hmm. I want to look at it. I want to see it. It can vary a little bit through the semester, but generally when somebody picks a slot, there's a real good reason for it. So more than likely it's going to stay. So I don't feel I need to do an online thing or whatever. I mean, it's set. And then Brian, who has as many students or more than I do, he does the same thing. He does his own scheduling. I don't have to do. I mean, people can call in to that, and we were kidding around about this, but we still have that too. For general people making calls, but we leave it open so that Brian's okay with giving out his number if it's a student, because you want to be able to make sure you have the best possible contact for the family. And I don't want there to be the middleman once they're in and everything is set.
Yeah.
Let's get them connected, because in today's world that people want it like that. 2 years ago, you'd wait and check your voicemails when you got home, and all that stuff, where now it could be a text, it could be whatever. A student will say, hey, how long is Brian going to be teaching today? I'm like, you know what? Text him and find out, whatever it might be. But as far as scheduling, I like the old school style. It works great for me. I have a spreadsheet for ensembles that, we do attendance every week, keeping track of the payments for that. And that's that, like I said, that's per diem. And it works.
I have one anecdote, and then I'll ask my question first, Jim.
Yeah.
So on your business end of it with Brian, who works there and teaches there,
Right.
Just out of curiosity, is he an independent contractor and his students pay him directly, and he rents a room from you, or how do you work that part of your business?
No, he is a 1099.
Okay.
And all the money comes in and goes into the main account, and he gets paid based on what's discussed, or any teacher. So because I just think you want to keep things as tight and solid as possible. I mean, I guess other places can do that, but it just keeps it so it doesn't get messy.
Right.
Yeah.
The money comes in, it goes into the account. People get paid, weekly. I pay everybody weekly, and it's done.
Perfect.
So,
That's great. That's great. Now here's my anecdote. I don't know if you guys have run into this. There's an ebb and flow to students. Some of them stick around for 10 years. Some of them stick around for 10 minutes. Right. And so what I do is I don't, like, when people get in contact with me, I don't put their name and their number into my personal phone. I just don't. Right. But with everybody doing text messaging now all the time rather than calling, I always tell my students, hey, look, if you're gonna message me about whatever you're gonna message me about, please tell me, hi, this is Jim. I got a question for you. Don't just send me a text. What time's my lesson today? I'm like, don't do that, because I don't have time to string through.
No.
Oh, this is Jim asking me what time his lesson is. Just, hey, this is Jim. Wonder what time my lesson is today. And I don't get that question too often, because everybody knows when their lesson is. But if you're going to ask me a question, just make sure that I know who the heck it is. That's the main thing.
and we do the same thing. Whether it's for I do a lot of contracting for our performances, and you can't expect that someone's going to know that number. So I'll always state right up front, this is Jim Royle. Circling back, check it. With students, I've been there too. I'll say, who is this?
Oh, I do that too.
Yeah, who are you?
Who are you?
I want to know who you are. And so I'll say the same thing. Please state who you are so I know what we're doing.
Yeah. One thing I do is I do send out a text confirmation to all of my students. And I found that that's really, really helped with attendance. And it really doesn't take very much time. So I teach every day except for Monday and Friday. So that way I'm available on the weekends, because so many people, that's their best time. So usually on a Sunday, I'll look at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'll send each one of those people I just copy and paste their last, hey, Lorena, how are you? Hope you're having a great week. Hope you've been practicing. I'm looking forward to seeing you, Tuesday at 5. Please confirm when you can.
Right. And
I just copy it and paste it. It's, unless their time changes. And I find that that really, really helps. And I think it kind of helps them with practicing too. Like, oh yeah, Rick just sent me a confirmation. I better get on this. And so it doesn't take that much time. And people just say they really, really appreciate it. So, but it is some extra effort. And, you know, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the software. Some teachers have, you know, you go online and there's a calendar and they can, you know, the student can just plug in the spot. That hasn't worked for me because I like a little bit more hands-on and I don't like people to change it last minute. But have you guys known any teachers who do that?
I don't.
I don't. I've heard of people, who was saying that they, Jim Toscano, when we had him on. He had the thing where you go in and you plug in your time. That's who it was. But other than him, no, it's kind of, everybody's kind of been in the same boat, you know, doing the same thing. Well, guys, that's kind of a general broad brush of how we run our businesses, and I'm sure that Jim and Rick would agree with me that we could sit here all day and yak about this subject, and because we're all so passionate about it. But we want to say thanks to everybody who not only watches live every week, the following that we've been building, and all the people that are members of the Drummers Education Connection. But we want to thank everybody who watches the YouTube channels and checks out the shows afterwards. It's awesome, and it's really helped us. And it's also helped us with people who want to be drum teachers and get their business going. Jim Royle, we want to thank you for sitting in for Jeremy and Chip today. You did a great job. And what we've been doing is every one of our shows, we've been giving away a drum head. We all proudly endorse Aquarian drum heads here on Drummers Education Connection. And what we want to do is we would like to give a drum head to you this week, so that you can give away to one of your very deserving students. So if you already know who you're going to give it to and you want to say or whatever, we can just send it to you. How do you want to work that?
Well, I certainly would love to say it's for my student, Nick Vieira.
Nick Vieira!
That's really loud.
Oh, it's really loud. Really,
it's really loud.
These earbuds. Wow. I just threw an Aquarian reflector right on a couch. That's all it was. Wow. It's amazing. These AirPods really pick up.
He's going to be thrilled.
Sorry.
It's going to mean the world to him. I think sometimes we forget. We're very, thankful and grateful for the help that we get with our endorsements and sponsorships, and it goes both ways. But for a young lad who will get a drum head or a pair of sticks, I mean, it's going to mean the world to him and to others. And I love the glow on their face. You know, even when it was my student who just graduated about a month ago or so, his eyes just opened up and he was like, "Really? This is for me?" You know.
That's so cool.
I thank you so much for that. It's a wonderful gesture from Aquarian, and I'm very grateful and thankful.
Oh, that's great. No problem. So we'll get that out to you, Jim, like as soon as possible. As usual, Rick Stojak, you are the best of the best. Jim Royle, you are the best of the best. We miss our buddies Jeremy and Chip. We'll see them next week. And if everything goes right, I'll be here next week from I'll be on tour out in Arizona, but I'm going to try to chime in and be on the show. Rick, what is on deck for next week, week's show?
Think Jeremy booked the great drummer Mike Clark.
Holy cow! I've got to be here.
Hancock and all these other players, major player.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. So that's going to be fantastic. That's going to be great.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody, thank you for joining us. This was episode 40 too.
No way.
Yeah.
40. We've done 40 shows. Wow. That's awesome.
Beautiful.
So Jim, thank you so much. Rick, thank you so much. We will see you guys next week right here on deck. Have a fantastic week, everybody.
Everybody, thank you for joining us. Take care now. Thanks, guys.